Hey all, Mark here, TekStack. 80% of the customers that we onboard with our PSA app going into the projects, we always ask, what do you think your utilization is for your top performers? Almost universally, our customers will tell us that their utilization is around 80%. So if you look at 1,950 hours, billing hours in a year, their top performers are billing 1,600 hours, somewhere in that mark. The reality is much lower. So what we actually find in the data when we're actually going through the implementation project is that there, and you start running the software for the first couple months, that the actual utilization is much lower. We're actually closer to 50% utilization. So they're closer to 1,000 hours a month of billing than the 1,500, which 80% utilization would mark. And so why is there a difference between that number? Almost always it's in the definition of what utilization is. So for us, it's any billable work that should be creating value for customers. It could be time and material billing, it could be contributing to a fixed price project. But where we actually see the leakage is quite often in administration tasks. So, a lot of customers have a practice of creating an admin project. Not a good practice. It tends to be a magnet for time entry, not really helping anybody because almost nobody goes through these projects to figure out where the time loss are. So administration tasks, internal meetings, stuff like that is a huge time leak. Pre-sales is quite a massive time leak. You can add into that bucket stuff like customer events and other things like that. One I didn't list here, but it's quite common is support. It's non-billable support, escalation of support. You're also seeing project schedule changes are creating leakage. So you may line somebody up for 80% utilization in the month of August, but sure enough, projects timelines change or whatever, and next thing you know, nobody's fishing for new work. They appreciate a lighter load, and next thing you know, you're end of August at 50% utilization. The last culprit quite often is if a task had 10 hours, but it took 7 hours, you're not billing that last 3. We would always recommend you bill to the budget. You're not doing yourself any favors by leaving money on project tasks. So these are typically the areas of leakage that we find in our projects. So what's the issue with that? Well, if you take a top performer, let's just use a number like $150,000 base salary, basically on calculating on a full 100% utilization of 1,950 hours in a year. You're looking at around $77 cost an hour for that resource. And if your average bill rate's around $250, not uncommon in the industry we serve for a top tier analyst, could be higher, but that's the average that we see. Average bill rate of $250. What's the difference between 50% utilization and 80% utilization? It's massive. It's $146,000 a year for one resource. So how many resources do you have on your team? Is it 10? Well, let's take that 146 times 10. It is an absolute massive number of leakage, revenue leakage. So you really kind of want to track that down. And quite often what I see is a lot of our customers are out there trying to hire additional resources because they think they need it. But all you're doing is, paying for this really expensive onboarding time, typically a 3-month onboarding before that resource is actually getting to anywhere near 50 to 80% utilization. So that ramp is really, really expensive. And then you're also not getting the highest margin. Typically the dollars between 70% and 80% utilization, that is all profit. But adding 10% utilization across a number of new hires is not profit. You're actually incrementing your cost base and not recovering that cost base with enough revenue. So you're actually going to lose money, gross margin on your services team. And then, really you're going to get better customer results with fewer resources, a team of fewer resources. There tends to be a dilution of quality as the team gets bigger, and you really want to, really get the most out of the resources you have. So we typically would recommend teams, before you start hiring, make sure that your entire team is at 80, 90% utilization. So how do you fix utilization issues? Probably number one, standardizing your projects. Not making every project bespoke. You should be able to template a lot of what you do. And this creates that standardization. It allows you also to delineate roles. So you can have, let's say, A senior resource just do analysis, and then the more junior resources do things like training and configuration and stuff like that. So delineation really helps, and you can achieve that with standardized projects. Resource assignments, so typically assigning specific projects or project tasks within projects to resources. We don't really recommend splitting project tasks across resources. It's you typically get better utilization with a single thread. But that resource assignment process should be part of a PMO process each week. Got to also track utilization, not monthly, but weekly. So you need to be able to see the difference between what was scheduled for or booked for that resource and what they actually did in that week, which also implies weekly time entry, which a lot of teams aren't doing, but you really, really do need to do weekly time entry as well. And that time entry ideally will pre-populate the project tasks that you've been assigned to. So it really provides 90% of the entry that a resource needs to do automatically. And then naturally you want to integrate all that billing. So you want to be able to have a process where you get the time entry entered in really, really simply. That time entry would be based on resource assignments. And then that can get approved with a simple process. Those approved time entries make it to an invoice. That invoice can be reviewed before being sent, ideally within typically on project close. So don't wait till the end of the month. But if an ongoing project is billing across months, then you definitely want to bill on that first month, first day of the new month. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that with integrated billing. What are some of the other benefits that you get out of kind of automating some of these processes within your team? I think consistency and delivery is key. I think a lot, especially in the Microsoft channel where we do a lot of work, technology companies are really struggling to get companies or their customers live. You do need to get that customer live very early. They need to be able to see your ending line, or your goal line is their starting line. So your finishing line is their starting line. You want them to get as much value out of the software that you sold them and the software that they're using before the renewal. So ideally you're going to get in that first year, which is a critical year. Most of that year should be receiving value from the technology. That sets them up for the renewal. That sets them up to be spending more money with you down the road. So keep those projects nice and tight. Really focus, try to manage that change, that scope change. Try to defer it to phase twos. You really want them to be live as quickly as possible. A lot of that is achieved through consistency in approach. So standard project plans, standard PMO operations. You also can improve internal and customer communication. So the internal communication, specifically through tools like Teams, having internal collaboration, file sharing, all that kind of stuff in a place that can house all that. And with customer communications, either inviting them into that Teams channel, which is one option. The other option is provide a bit of a wall and have them communicate with you via portal. So being able to, log in, see how their project's doing, see the upcoming tasks, see how we are related to the Gantt chart that we originally put out, all that kind of stuff. The other benefits of project delivery systems, getting continuous improvement. So, really eking out that improvement in your business processes, and finally speeding up and getting more accuracy in your billing. Quick screenshots of TekStack. TekStack, there's a number of PSA type solutions or project type solutions out there. You've got the Asana and Monday kind of options that are really, really nice to engage with from a task assignment, but they don't necessarily allow you to standardize projects. So as you onboard new projects, you're kind of creating those projects from scratch, and then they don't necessarily provide a good overview of how the project's performing. You may have some task visualization, but not project oversight across a number of programs within your company. So, one of the benefits of tools like ours is, over those kind of lightweight project management tools, is that you get much better program management, much better oversight, but you also get into things like project accounting. So you're seeing your project cost margin and billing, you're getting integrated billing, You're getting resource assignments, time entry is fully integrated. And because we're a Power App, for companies that are using Dynamics 365 for sales, you can actually show the projects for that customer on the account for that customer. So people in sales can see how the project's doing. On the customer account record, you can also, if you're using what do they call it now, Copilot Service or whatever the new name is for customer service, all your tickets can be visualized on the account as well. You get that kind of customer 360 view. Quick view of our project costing kind of information at a project task, where you're making money and not making money on a specific project. You can also see the resource assignment. So here, here's a quick screen of when you're getting a new project on board, you need to assign resources. We can, quickly look for the dates that you need resources. We can quickly see of the roles that you need, in this case, a consultant, who's available, what's their utilization, who do you want to assign, what else do they have assigned to them? Do you want to kind of split out some of the tasks that they already have assigned, all that, and you can instantaneously book. The cool thing is when you book resources in real time, they're getting a Teams notification letting them know they're on a new project, and that project task will appear in their time entry. So we'll automatically fill out the timesheet based on what we're expecting them to do. Everything based on, obviously, Microsoft, which is super exciting, super deep integration to Teams, Outlook, other tools like Power BI. Everything sits in your tenant. Everything's fully secure, deeply integrated Dynamics 365 for sales, or TekStack's own CRM, and then Business Central for billing. We've got a very deep integration with Business Central for the billing cycles. And then, of course, what we're really excited about is all the new Copilot stuff. So because we are a Power App, Copilot Studio is basically has an MCP server to Dataverse, so we can use triggers and actions in our design of all these agents. So you can build all these autonomous agents. You can orchestrate a bunch of agents into one agent. Become basically it creates a beautiful meld of all the unstructured data you have in Outlook and Teams and SharePoint with all the structured data that you have in these projects, bringing it all together under one roof for your agent design. So I'll leave you with that. Any questions, just give us a holler.